With the price around $50,000 right now, Bitcoin seems to be in a state of an excessively dangerous bubble. As a result, many people are scrambling to explain how Bitcoin will crash softly in the coming weeks. Yet, let's keep an open mind and look at the evidence that might indicate otherwise. Come on, let's go. To begin with, fundamentally, to justify such an extraordinary increase, we would need an extraordinary reason. On this side, there is no shortage of arguments. In fact, the greatest promise of the Bitcoin protocol is that it will become another layer of the internet. Bitcoin would allow the birth of an internet value. This is a far cry from monetary considerations as we understand them. Usually, a currency is attached to a government as an attribute of its power. The currency allows a government to have the means of its ambitions through taxation. Take it a step further, control of money allows a government to be certain of capturing the value created in a country to the point of having the ability to reduce its population to poverty, if necessary. Basically, if money is always attached to a state, it is primarily because of a power relationship. In theory, an economic system could very well exist with a free currency, independent of political power. But since we do not live in the beautiful land of theory, but on the harsh continent of practice, governments have always assumed monetary power through the power to send people to prison or to execute them, if they deem it necessary to be taken seriously. So for Bitcoin to assert itself for real and for good as a currency, it needs a way to be elusive, which is not simple, but let's push the envelope more. To dissuade people from revolting, and believe me, the emergence of an attempt at a free currency will be well perceived and treated as a revolt by the power in place, it is necessary to be able to hit emblematic heads. This is a main argument against the Ethereum blockchain. If a government sends Vitalik Buterin to jail and he attacks the Ethereum organization which is based in Switzerland, it could seriously damage the Ethereum blockchain. Conversely, when it comes to Bitcoin, its organization is completely decentralized. There is no one identifiable as the founder or leader of Bitcoin, other than Satoshi Nakamoto, but that man or group of people remains completely unknown. So Bitcoin could be banned locally by law, but when you don't make an example of people who embody a movement, it is still less effective. Moreover, banning Bitcoin has already been tried in several countries, and it does not seem to be incredibly effective when one sees the price of Bitcoin. One might say that the governments that have banned Bitcoin to date are not the most influential ones on the planet. Meanwhile, as far as China is concerned, I explained in this video that its position is much more ambiguous than its apparent hostility seems to suggest. Going further, a little bird, Sebastian Guspelu, told me that on the ground, the Chinese government would even seem to be in favor of its population stocking up on Bitcoin for the future. I recall this position would be a pragmatic reversal of the Chinese government's position since it has not been able to ban Bitcoin for real. So banning Bitcoin is not necessarily impossible in theory, but in practice, it is clear that no major state has really persevered in this direction. In the end, as far as the monetary side of Bitcoin is concerned, it is perhaps not impossible that it is sufficiently difficult to identify that it cannot be banned. One of the fundamental factors in this difficulty is the internet. It is one thing to ban something in a closed territory. It is quite another to ban the use of Bitcoin when everyone has the internet. In short, if you want to ban Bitcoin effectively, the US, Europe, and China would have to get together and act. For the moment, this is not the case, and as far as China is concerned, they could even promote Bitcoin in order to encourage the fall of the euro and the dollar. Let's keep in mind that the Chinese dictator can be a tease when he wants to be. Beyond this monetary aspect, which would already be a revolution in itself, Bitcoin carries a much greater promise. And yes, you've all heard of smart contract and tokenization. In a nutshell, tokenizing something is moving its value onto a blockchain. For example, if you tokenize my house, it becomes tradable in the same way as a cryptocurrency. Check out my video on the company Realty, which tokenizes real estate in the US. Then, a smart contract, to make it very simple and very short, is a set of rules that applies to a token. In Realty's tokens, there are many smart contracts to collect and distribute the rents of the tenants to the Realty token holders, for example. In short, a smart contract allows to program the behavior of a financial asset or a currency. Yes, potentially, it's a big deal. Today, tokenization and smart contracts are the prerogative of the Ethereum blockchain. That is why Ethereum is so exciting. However, on the Bitcoin side, when we dig around and ask around, we learn that Bitcoin developers are working on very operational solutions to be able to create tokens and program smart contracts from the Bitcoin blockchain. And yes, that's why maximalist Bitcoiners believe that Bitcoin will be the only blockchain standing at the end of history, consigning all others to the statues of anecdotes in the history of blockchain. Are they right, or are they wrong? Frankly, I don't have the level to know, and a lot can still happen. Nevertheless, the promise is huge. Basically, Bitcoin offers the potential to be present in all economic exchanges, and I mean all. So I'm not saying that this will be the case. There will inevitably be room for something else, but fundamentally, that's the promise of the fund. So if you take the $874 billion in Bitcoin's capitalization and put it against the weight of the economy as a whole, that leaves room for Bitcoin to rise. To give you a bit of a heads up, the global bond market that would be quite tokenizable and smart contractable, if I may say so in theory, is still worth $250 trillion. Yeah, that's a lot. Well, basically, that's why Bitcoin enthusiasts don't care about Bitcoin's volatility, and they take advantage of any downturn to buy. They have faith, and again, in theory, if everything goes well, it's not necessarily foolish. Is there any way to know if the markets have faith in Bitcoin as well? Looking at my tools on Naystor, I realize that Bitcoin's progression is not nearly as extravagant as it's said to be, from a long-term charting perspective. You see that price curve that makes it look like a beautiful bubble? Well, if you turn it into a logarithmic scale and add a regression and standard deviations, I realize that Bitcoin may well follow the same cyclical pattern as any stock market growth stock. According to this interpretation, which requires the assumption that one has enough significant hindsight on the history of Bitcoin, then today at 50,000 it is right on its long-term trend. Amazing, isn't it? I admit I was surprised. From this point of view, Bitcoin is not in a bubble. It is just experiencing price fluctuations that are proportionally to its meteoric growth. By the way, if you think so, then with Naystor you can set your own investment strategy for Bitcoin. We will soon be adding a price and level alert system to our indicators. What's really impressive is the slope of the growth, which shows an annualized return of 164%. On average, that's more than double every year. Not bad. So there you have it. If you want to appreciate Bitcoin on its potential, you'll find plenty of reasons to buy it. Come on, to tell you the truth, my share of hope and crazy dreams in Bitcoin makes me think that maybe we will have a monetary democracy. The least we can say is that it's not a sure thing, but good lord, if such a thing is possible, it's really worth paying attention to it. As Master Yoda would say, caught between China, the European Union, and the USA, there is another. Honestly, how much real freedom do we have left? Not much. So I find myself dreaming of a free currency even though I know the chances are slim. So don't put all your eggs in one basket with your savings on Bitcoin. That would surely be foolish. On that note, see you soon for new videos. Ciao.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like my videos, please subscribe and don't forget to hit the bell if you want to be notified of the next episode. And if you want to invest in the stock market over the long term or diversify your financial portfolio, I'm offering you an analysis of the 8 European star stocks to have. Thanks again for watching and have a great day.